2012 Hyundai Sonata, front brake pads and rotors. You need to jack it up, support it properly. Remove the front tires, 21mm for the lug nuts. And then you need to remove the caliper. The caliper is held on with two 14mm head bolts. Right here and right here. Okay? Then you get a little screwdriver, get inside here, underneath that clip there, metal, and pry the caliper out a little bit. All right, pry the caliper out a little bit. Let's see here. And go ahead and grab hold of the caliper, wiggle that baby off of there. What you want to do is you want to look at the piston, the boot, make sure it's not torn or leaking any fluid. And next, what you want to do is go ahead and get your tool to push the piston back in, which would be an old pad and a C-clamp, if you got one. Or you can use the tool, just a ratchet tool, and pushes it in as you tighten it up. But I'll use a C-clamp. And this is what a ratchet tool looks like. Okay, I used a C-clamp and an old pad and tightened it up and pushed the piston in. When you're doing this, make sure that the line is not pinched or restricted, so that way you can actually feel the piston going in. Because if it goes in really tight, you gotta make sure the line isn't pinched. And if your line's straight, not restricted, then you have another problem inside the piston. Either the line's restricted or the caliper's frozen. All right, next thing you want to do is remove the caliper bracket, and it's held on by two 17mm head bolts. One here and one there. You need to take them out. And they got washers on them, so try not to lose the washer. Here's your bracket, caliper bracket. You need to clean up your caliper bracket, remove the pads, remove the hardware, abundant clips. That surface there, inside there, right here, needs to be cleaned up, get all the rust out of there, underneath the abundant clips. Because when it rusts, it swells up and it expands onto the pads and doesn't allow the pad to move freely in the bracket. Then also you need to make sure that your caliper slides are free. What you do is you take them out, clean them up, and put some new Seal Glide on them. And when you got these all nice and cleaned up, you go ahead and paint them. Just like this side. It's all painted. Looks good. Took these out, cleaned them up, put some new Seal Glide on them. Do not pack this with Seal Glide. You'll never compress the pins in all the way. Then you have to take a screwdriver in there and dig some of it out. All right. This has got the fasteners holding it on, the Phillips heads. What you do is you get your impact driver and hit it with a hammer. Make sure you turn it the way you want to remove it. And in case you don't know what an impact driver is, that's an impact driver and has a special Phillips bit. They're harder than the average ones. So you get it in there, you gotta turn it to make sure it's going the right way. Then you can smack it with your hammer. All right, the bottom one came right out, the top one did not. Stripped it out, I tried hitting it with a chisel and knock it to turn it, didn't work. So I got my die grinder with a disc, and I made an X on it. And I'll get my chisel in there and I'll see if I can chisel out my pieces. All right, I used my chisel, tried chipping off the pieces, came undone. Not much left of it. What you do is you chisel them off, they break off, and then you can just go ahead and smack the rotor. And when you smack the rotor, it busts the rest of them off. So now I need to smack the rotor with a hammer and break it loose. Too bad. So you get the rotor off, and then this surface needs to be clean, free of rust, no deposits, don't want no high spots. If you have high spots, it causes the rotor to go like that as it spins, and that will give you a pulsation in your pedal, and that would mean a bad brake job. So clean that up. Get it like get it like this one here, nice and shiny, okay? And then put a fine film of anti-seize on it before you put your rotor on. Make sure you wash your rotors with soap and water. Remove the shipping oil. All right, I'll use an angle die grinder to clean up inside here. And then I'll do it sideways this way. Get in there a little bit, and then I'll use my disc Rolex. Goes in there like that. Over them, cleans it up pretty nice. I use my angle die grinder to clean up my bracket and get inside there sideways. Clean it up. Comes out pretty nice. Then I'll paint it. Make sure you put your pins through some Sil Glide. Like I said, do not pack it. Push it in there. Make sure you get some on the boot. Twist it as you push it in there. And one of them's got the little rubber on it. And that will go on the that will go on the top. Okay. All right, so now I gotta paint that and get them ready to go. Rotors are on. Got them washed with some soap and water. I used one of my retainer screws with some anti-seize on it. And put some anti-seize on the hub, help keep it from rusting in the future. Got my hardware, button clips on my calipers. Get them pushed in there, make sure they're in there nicely. And I'll use a little piece of wood and use a little wooden brush. Goes in there and helps push those clips down inside there. I don't know if you can see them or not. All the way down there in the bottom, clips in there. These things work perfect. All right, so go ahead and get your caliper bracket mounted. Get your bolts in there, get them started and snugged up. And you might want to put a little bit of anti-seize just inside where the lock washer goes, right on here on the shank. Just a little bit. And if you want, you can go ahead and put a little bit of Loctite on there in blue. It does have a lock washer, so you're okay. Okay, caliper bracket mounted. Bolts are snugged up. Torqued them to 73 foot-pounds. Okay, that is all set. Next you need to do is get your brake pads. This one has no squeak indicator on it. And you put them in here on the outside. Put them in at an angle. Slide them in there. Push up against the sides of them because they're like little springs. And then you want to get the one with the indicator on the bottom. That will go towards the rotation of the rotor. And go on the bottom. Make sure you get it in there a little bit of an angle. Get it in there. Squeeze it in there. You might have to get your light so you can see what the heck you're doing. All right, so that's in there. So now we can go ahead and get our caliper. Get the caliper on there. You might have to push your slide pins in to get the caliper past them. And then get your two caliper bolts started and snug them up. All right, calipers in here. Got it mounted, got my bolts snugged up. Then you want to torque them to 23 foot-pounds. Make sure your line is not twisted. Good, it's all set. This side is all done. Go do the other side exactly the same way. Then you can go ahead and put your tires on. Torque your lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. Lower the vehicle down to the ground. Go inside the vehicle. Start it. Push the pedal to the floor a couple times. Make sure you have a decent firm pedal. You want to make sure you have that before you put it in drive or reverse. Because if you don't pump it up first, then you won't have any brakes. So make sure you pump the pedal before you put it in drive or reverse. And then also, you want to open up your hood and then double check your fluid level at your reservoir. Top it off as needed and verify the type of fluid, 3 or 4. And that will complete brake job. And hopefully I helped you out, and hopefully you can help me out by subscribing to me. And I appreciate it, and thank you.